the Lord commands couples not to divorce or separate from Corinthians, but that they should remain unmarried or else be reconciled. Now, talking about divorce, and the Lord does not allow the divorce and things like that, and they should be reconciled. And also, why Paul indirectly encourages celibacy because of his excessive ministry travel trips. So, in a nutshell, Pastor, what does Paul talk about marriage and divorce? And what does Paul talk about celibacy? What would you say about it?
Paul spoke about celibate life of his type. Right, that brother is correct in saying that maybe because of his excessive role in mission, he cannot care. So he doesn't want to have a woman alongside for whom he cannot care and take care of her, fulfill his husband's responsibility.
So my question, was Paul married or not married?
Oh, that is a complicated question.
Yes.
Paul, if he was the member of Sanhedrin, as he claims in Acts, if he was, then he had to be married. He had to be married. So then what is he talking about now in Corinthians, that I am still alone, live like me? Maybe that his wife had passed away, and then he encounters Christ. He got more time to persecute, so he started persecuting probably. We don't have evidence, but I'm saying. So because he cannot be member of Sanhedrin without getting married.
Yes.
So he was married, that means, if he was really. But then now he is alone. Maybe because his wife passed away, he was a widower. But then he chooses now not to marry. And then he talks about apostles. He says that if they can carry their wives with them, do I not have the right? Oh, but I don't want to do that. Because for the sake of Christ, even that privilege I will forgo. See, that is on Paul's side a sacrificial position. Paul is saying that for the sake of my mission and my call and for the sake of Christ, even the right that other apostles are exercising, I let it go. All because, to use Philippian language, I want to know Christ, the power of his resurrection. All that. For me to live is Christ and to die is gain. That's what is Paul's take on the thing. So, but then, what about marriage? Paul doesn't condemn marriage, or neither he encourages them to be alone in the sense. But, if you are to talk about marriage as such, then you have to go to Gospels and take Jesus's words also. Divorce in the Gospels, when Jesus is talking, Jesus is allowing divorce only on one condition. That is, he says that, because of the hard-heartedness of your forefathers, God allowed. In the original plan of God, there was no divorce. Marriage, happily living till the end. That was, according to Jesus, God's purpose. But because your forefathers were hard-hearted, through Moses, God allowed. Okay, go. Do that. But except in the case of adultery, unfaithfulness, it is not allowed. But even in the case of adultery and unfaithfulness, Jesus is saying, if you are able to forgive and the other person is able to mend his way or her way, accept and live together, provided that sin is dealt with and the person repents, then you do not have a reason to. But if still you are so adamant, no, I cannot live, then only one reason you can divorce is adultery or unfaithfulness. Now, Pastor, we cannot limit the whole thing to these two issues alone. Life is much more complex than that, and about that, Scripture is silent, some of the places. What happens to a man or a woman whose life is threatened in a marital relationship or abused? Those are the complicated situations when can divorce be done. My personal position is I'm not the supporter of divorce, but I am also the one who celebrates life. Life needs to be nurtured and protected. I will not suggest divorce is the way. Spend time with the other person and ask him or her to come back into godliness and live. But a life cannot be left to be dying daily. The church needs to step in and find appropriate steps and solutions for that. Is divorce the solution? For me, is the last and absolutely the last of all trials. But in some cases, it may be inevitable. But in such cases, let the life flourish. Let the life flourish, because God has a purpose through that life. You cannot allow a life to be perpetually in dying situation for no good reason. But I am not supporting divorce in that sense. But there are complex situations in life where biblical understanding of life also needs to be taken into consideration when we talk about marriage and divorce.
Right.
So there cannot be straitjacket approach. This is how it is, finished. No, it has to be, every case must be dealt case by case. And then it should be handled. But definitely some people say that Paul was a divorcee. No, there is no evidence Paul was a divorcee. There is no evidence.